Okay, I went out and came back in. Can you let me know if you can hear me now? Hello, hello. Let's see. Hi, can you let me know if you can hear me? Thank you, Coach. I'm so glad you are here. Oh, wonderful, wonderful. And Elion, yes, I did have the mute button on, so you all didn't hear that terrific introduction of who I am. At any rate, I'll gladly do it for you again. I'm Karren Henderson, founder and owner of EAs in the C-Suite. Those EAs are actually known as executive assistants to their C-level executive. And EAs in the C-Suite was formed from actually me being an EA in the C-Suite and realizing the actual value that we bring. And a lot of times that title, executive assistant, is what keeps us in a position that not only undervalue our value, but also keep the compensation at a certain level because we're perceived as doing this assistant slash some people will still refer to as secretarial kinds of duties. But I formed this company because I found it was needed for those executive assistants who realize they bring much more to the table than they're given credit for. And also what I realized, and I quite frankly will admit, I realized this before I knew there was a name for it, and that is emotional intelligence. I realized that was a missing piece for EAs to really delve into who they are, become more self-aware. That was primary. Become more self-aware and actually give themselves more grace and strength and confidence to convey that to the powers that be. So as a result of what we do, executive assistants are more appreciated and compensated for their leadership skills, communication skills, time management, and ability to work under pressure, which is so crucial when you're right beside that leader of a company, organization, etc. So through strengthening these soft skills, EAs up-level their performance and transform to business strategic partners. And that's what I help them do. So tonight, as a result of some recent conversations, I am going to talk about loyalty. Love to have your input on that. My question was, is loyalty alive? Is it passé? What do you think about loyalty? When I was coming up, when I was actually working in that capacity, it was very important to me, and I realized that was really a part of my character, a part of my DNA, and so there you have it. I was extremely loyal and committed, and yes, that added to my success, and a lot of things I did not necessarily embrace, but nonetheless, I kept that loyalty going because I believed in the mission. I believed that my contribution helped make it successful, not to a point where see me, but just knowing I really put a dent in this organization's success. Now, I'm sure you all have seen job descriptions that said, we need someone who can hit the ground running. You know, we're always in a hurry. We always got to hurry up and get it done. But we don't want to have to spend the time getting the person up to snuff. So there's some basics that they need to know. And they need to know these things to do a good job for you, to understand what it is they need to do. So I have some points here to share with you about employee loyalty. Now, they say employee loyalty is a company's most important resource, but we're not always treated that way. And sometimes, well, let's go back some years. There was that concept out, really strong philosophy and practice. You go to work, you work 40 years for 1/4 of your pay or thereabouts, you retire, you get the gold ring, and everything is hunky-dory. Well, that really is passe. Not only are pensions out the door, not only are companies not even holding employees that long. If the job is not being shut down entirely, perhaps it's being outsourced. Pensions are a thing of the past. You can put your money in a 401k. So some of those things that have engendered loyalty to employees are falling by the wayside. Right in this period we're in now of the pandemic, people are not rushing back to work, and it's for a variety of reasons. Trust me, I don't know all of the reasons, but there's a variety. Okay, so yeah, there's a variety of reasons that's happening, but there's more of an entrepreneurial spirit permeating the air, people taking chances on doing something of their own. They're evaluating their own skills and monetizing them. So it's a whole lot of those things going on, but some of the things that can still be done about loyalty, and by the way, it's on both sides. The employee's loyalty to the employer and the employer's loyalty to the employee. And a lot of times that's kind of overlooked, because a lot of times the boss feel they're too busy to take time and explain the mission, explain the goals, explain how they can contribute, letting them know what resources they will provide to aid them in doing a good job. Sometimes that doesn't take place. What is that? There are some people that hop around and all. That's true. That's very true. But sometimes the employer isn't doing his part. As they say, loyalty might be one of the most elusive concepts. And to that point, someone asked me the other day whether or not it can be taught. Well, I dare say it cannot be taught. Perhaps it can be cultivated. I think that's a better way, in my opinion, at least. So that's work. That's work on your part. That's work on the employee's part. You want to do things that are motivational. You want to provide them with personal and professional development. You want to value their input. And I think those are all contributing factors to loyalty. And they say certain things the employer must take into consideration to get that loyalty. Now, when I was coming up, I was loyal. I was focused. I was motivated to make a contribution. And with those things in my mind, I sought out answers without necessarily waiting on my executive to come and tell me. I had my antennas up a lot of the times to hear and see what was going on. I had conversations with his colleagues. I did reading and research on my own. I always wanted to come to the table with something that would help. I was always, not always, but many times I was cognizant of the fact that this piece of information or that resource could help him make a better decision. But that's all individual. It's what you come with. It's what motivates you. And like that was Coach Tamika who said some people hop around, and that's true. And I think in younger years, well, it probably doesn't even hold true today, but the younger employee who hops around, so to speak, is not viewed, it's not necessarily viewed as a negative thing, because when you're younger, you're basically feeling your way. You want to see what this is like and what that is like. With some reasonable period of time at a workplace, but nonetheless, it's not quite viewed the same. I think it's the more accurate thing to say. Not only is it not viewed the same, quite frankly, when they're young, they have more opportunities. And naturally, when you get older, that hopping around is not such an attractive, beneficial thing to do. So let me share this with you. A recent survey of 2,000 employees, and this was conducted by a firm, West Monroe, recently revealed some surprising numbers. The survey found that 82% of employees felt a sense of loyalty to their current employer. That's impressive, they say. However, a full 59% of the people surveyed also stated they would leave their current company for a more appealing offer. So that loyalty only goes so far, if you will. The thing about it, however, if the employer is cognizant of maybe a fall off in the quality of performance, or interest seem to have wavered, that may be an indication that the interest has gone, and perhaps they can do something. Maybe the job has gotten uninteresting. Perhaps they'd like to do something more challenging. But that takes a conversation. That takes you being aware of your employees, for instance. Is there, let me see what people are saying. It's never good to be a gypsy. Absolutely not. Hi, all. I know I can wave back to you, but I'm so glad you're here. We did switch over to IG. This is our first night doing so. It feels good being here, but prior we were always on Facebook. But I have a feeling I have truly found my home, and I am so glad to be here. Yes, thank you, Coach. And Shakita, thank you. Someone told me to be sure to say what a EA was, a VA, and a PA. But can I tell you, I was all of them in one position. I was a personal assistant. Hi, Shakita. Thank you so much for being here. Yes, I was sharing, I think the other day, I was once in Paris, and I had to do a spreadsheet for an upcoming event that was going on, and I took my laptop everywhere. Also, okay, so that's a PA. So the EA is right there, basically in the office. But I, even before the pandemic, would work virtually. For 30-some years, I always had my work environment duplicated at home. So working virtually was not a big deal. At the time, no, it didn't require so many Zoom meetings because we were out of the office. But there were conferences that maybe if I wasn't in the office, I had to call in to participate in, and not necessarily a conference, actually in a meeting. If there was a meeting being held, I would tune in by the phone. So I had my virtual thing, Mexico, Paris, wherever I was, my laptop was with me. I always make sure I drop it off at IT to make sure it was set up to work internationally. So that went on all the time. And of course, the EA is in the office. The PA, yes, I got tickets for concerts, for basketball games, picked up mail once and had to take it to Bermuda. because my exec, he did a month or more in the summer in Bermuda, and certain mail, during that period of time he needed to see physically. So he invited me to come to Bermuda with his mail. I set up conferences all over New York, Aspen, where else? Chicago. So I was an EAPA VA at one time, okay? Now, a VA, when we hear it today, typically that person works remotely, period. And it doesn't matter where they are if it's okay with you. And a lot of the virtual assistants are abroad. A lot of them come from India, Philippines, which I'm sure you all know. And one of the reasons those two countries are pretty dominant in the virtual space is because their English is pretty good, considering English as a second language. What else? So that's your virtual assistant. Now, sometimes the boss, the owner, the exec may require face-to-face. So that assistant can serve in dual roles. For the majority of the time, they're virtual, but perhaps once a week he wants to have a weekly meeting with the virtual assistant, or the virtual assistant is strictly remote. Both things can happen. It's you who need to assess your situation and see what best fits you. Hi, Judith. That's my AP. She's always there with me. Thank you very much for coming on tonight. And so, yeah, that's if you have any other questions, if I left something out. Personal, let me get a little bit more into that. The personal assistant is usually doing things like maybe picking up the kids from school, maybe taking them to some after school activity, dropping off clothes at the cleaners, picking up tickets. There may be some light duties around the house. There may be some answering of calls and sending some emails. Those are the kinds of things PA might be doing. The best thing to do is be clear on what the responsibilities are. If there's any conflict, for instance, communicate. Your understanding of a PA is X. What do they expect from you? If it's something you feel you're interested in, you want to do, then at least you understand what the responsibilities will be for that individual. Some people are confused about just what personal assistant is. In fact, I talked to a business owner not long ago, and she wanted that combination person, but she was having a very difficult time hiring that right person. And when she mentioned something about walking the dog, that really turned the person away from the job. Okay, no, they weren't going to walk a dog. However, it was communicated. So that's the time to let it be known that, this is not something I particularly want to do. So I hope that explains. If not, let's just look at it this way, Shakita. The personal assistant will list what things they want you to do personally. And that's usually what it is, period. Now, if there are things on there that you don't perceive are personal, or there are things in the job description that you aren't comfortable doing, communicate. That's all you have to do. But for the most part, the PA is going to be more personal things than it is straight administrative or executive assistant types of tasks. I think that's the simplest way I can explain it. Yeah. And ask questions during that process if you're still confused or not clear, because what a personal assistant will do for me it could be something else totally different. I had a VA. I had them take pictures of things that we were putting on eBay once. I had them go through and organize all of my receipts for taxes. So it's, whatever it is you want, lay it out. If it's something they're willing to do, there. You have what you understand to be a good position for you, and they have what they need for them. Okay, so let's just go through some points that about loyalty. Loyalty takes time. It would be great if we hired immediately. If everyone you hired immediately was loyal. It's not going to be that way. Okay, it's unrealistic. Trust takes time to build. Also, pretty much every job has a probationary period. That's a time to see, to test, to evaluate your skills in the short run. So during that time, I'll become either confident or not so confident in your ability to do some things that I know I would be giving the person in that position. It's also important that the employer takes time to tell you during that period exactly what they expect. And you can have some meetings at, I want to say, at not only specific times, but well-organized times. In other words, you have a task to do. Perhaps it took a little research, or a lot of times you could check the files to see how things are done, whether they have electronic files or paper files. You can go in and see how things are done. You can ask about your predecessor if there's someone who you followed. So there are ways to find out more information about what your tasks are. And if there are things that you're still not clear about, write them down. Sort of summarize them. And then when you have a meeting with your exec, you're presenting things in a way that says, I thought about this. I took it as far as I can go, but I need these questions answered. That's truly appreciated. And you have my attention, because now I know you're not going to sit there and twiddle your thumbs and not ask necessary questions. I'm also going to know you took the initiative to go a step or two further to get this information. That's valued. When they give it back to you in terms of the responses you require, that's helping you kick it up another notch. And then loyalty is a wide spectrum, just like our conversations with employees. As leaders, it's important to understand where you draw the line in the sand. If, for instance, if you suspect some wrongdoing or something by an employer, that's something totally separate, that's different. But if you think the employee is frustrated, or maybe they're kind of looking around and seeing what other opportunities are out there, that's when you want to step in and have a conversation and see what you can offer within your own organization to appease that wandering eye, if you will. You don't want to point fingers and blame or anything. You're just trying to assess the situation, especially if up to that point this employee has been someone you value. They were doing a good job, but suddenly they're kind of attention seemingly on something else. Have a conversation. Communication is very important. And it's a demonstration of your leadership. Okay? The other thing is, just because an employee leaves a company doesn't mean they're disloyal. Perhaps they're going to get more education, more experience, and who knows, one day they may come back to you. So it's not something you just assume. And that's another reason that they have exit interviews. Okay, exit interviews can tell you a lot about what the person experienced in the position. I remember an employee in the exit interview was saying, I like this and I like that. I liked when I went on sites and I was appraising this and helping so-and-so appraise that. I didn't like so much having to be in an administrative assistant role. That's valuable information. If you need the individual to cross over into another position, they're going to have the position where they assess property, but there also will be times you need them to do administrative work in the office. Let that be known up front. I mean, even if you could break it down to a percentage, well, 25% of the time you're going to be X, and then 75% of the time you'll be doing Y. That's a happier employee. It's not something that's being dropped in their lap because situations change, but it's something they know will come about 25% of the time. Okay? And then there's many reasons why disloyalty can often be confused with numerous other aspects at work. It's not important, and this is key, it's not important to jump to conclusions. You know, a lot of times the office is unorganized, or there could be an individual in the office that really makes life unpleasant for someone. It's a manager that they don't get along with. All of those are reasons someone may say, maybe this isn't the place for me. I'm going to start looking for something else. That could very well be. You cannot control someone else's loyalty. And it's like we often hear, you can't control anyone's behavior but your own. Okay? So understand that you can do what you can to ascertain what may be a problem. If it's something you can correct, for instance, if someone is doing something that's not so challenging, they want to go the next step. I have shared this with some people. I think my coach, my AP on here, I don't know, but I have shared this. I didn't always have it together, politically correct. What I did have was a good work ethic. I would do the job and over deliver because that was my makeup. And I was working for CBS in New York at the time. This was my first job, actually. And I was doing data entry. And I said to my boss, after 3 years of doing data entry, I went into her office and I said, I'm tired of working with my hands. I want to work with my head. I didn't have no strategic, well thought out plan. I didn't have the proper presentation. But guess what? She was on the same page and I got promoted to a management position. How about that? But I never forget how I went about putting that to my manager, and they were ready to embrace me at the same time. Now, here's the other thing. After I did that, was promoted, they replaced me with 3 people. But they didn't pay me 3 salaries. That's also something I never forgot. At any rate, loyalty. Loyalty is something you can't buy. You can work on it. You can nurture it. I thought earlier today, you can, thank you so much. Yes, we did have a conversation the other day. I thank you so much. She's saying your discovery call was helpful. I used what you told me on my client and I got exactly what I needed for us to move for. Excellent, excellent, excellent. That is real. I'm so glad to hear that. I'm so glad you shared that. So yes, loyalty, you cannot buy it. You can nurture it. You can work on talking to that employee, doing your part, but you can't force it, you can't fix it, and Therefore, communication is the key. And if you notice, these are all soft skills that we're talking about. It's leadership, it's communication skills, it's self-awareness. And this is what we do at EAs in the C-suite. As they say, loyalty is elusive. It comes and goes at unexpected times. And it often happens when you least expect it. But guess what? It can disappear in an instant. So, that's what I wanted to talk about this evening. Someone told me, by the way, I told you that I had talked to some clients and prospective clients and business owners recently. And one of them told me, loyalty doesn't exist anymore. That was kind of hard to hear, even though I suspect it's not as prominent as it used to be. But it's definitely there. I mean, there have been great disappointments. We've heard about how people reported to work today and was handed a pink slip. You know, they had no idea they'd be wiped out just like that. I have a relative now. Their company is closing at the end of the fiscal year. For them, that's June 30th. And people, some of them are in a daze, in a fog. Some have found jobs, and others are planning and preparing for their next phase in life, their next phase in business, etc. But these things happen. So loyalty in some cases has disappeared, in other cases has dissipated, and in other cases it's there just as strong as ever. So what say you? Do you take your loyalty to your client, customer, when you feel it waning? Do you have a conversation? It is a two-way street, and we both have to do our parts. So, this is what Karren's Carrots is all about, and I'll be with you on Thursdays at 7. Thank you all who came by. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for your testimony, Miss Shakita. I appreciate that. I thank you. I am Sam. I am happy to be here, and I love sharing the carrots. I love helping. I do have a course coming up. Actually, it's a master class that we'll have first, and you'll get more information about that. So if I don't have any questions, comments, feedback, I'm going to thank you all again. Hey, Devin, thank you so much. I see you doing it, and I am so proud of you. But, Devin, I still miss the salmon. Oh, wow, that is wonderful. I appreciate you, and please join me again next Thursday at 7. And by the way, if there's a topic in this arena that you'd like to talk about, if you'd like to have that discovery call, you can feel free to check my bio for previous Karren's Carrots. You can go to my store. I have a lovely journal there. And let's get to know each other. How about that? I thank you again, and I'll say so long for now.